Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Good morning, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. According to the Daily Mail, Simon Cowell is self-destructing. I'm definitely tuning in for that.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I am Frank Skinner. This is Absolute Radio. I'm with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane.
Good
That's
morning.
all the details you need at the moment. If you want to text us about anything, and we'd love you to, that'd be on 8 12 15.
793 already has. Morning, Frank, Emily and Alun. Is that Simon Cowell's act on BGT? Making much the same joke as you did, I think.
What was that he's going to self-destruct?
Yeah. But, you know, it's nice to have communication, isn't it?
No, I think I'm happy for us to all join in because this is the Daily Mail's theory that Simon Cowell is self-destructing. Can you imagine if it actually was literally that on Britain's Got Talent he did, like, you know, those Buddhists that complain about the treatment in, you know, Tibet and stuff.
Oh, yes, I've seen
He
them.
actually is it self-immolation? Is that what it's called?
No, that's something else, Frank. Let's move on.
Oh, goodness me.
Do you know what, though?
Can I get a new... Can you get that dictionary sorted?
They're basing this on the fact that he hasn't shaved in 2 days. Essentially. That's why they're saying he's self-destructing.
Yeah, but he's a very immaculate character.
You should see the headlines about ZZ Top. Brian Blessed.
That's how they should measure it. That'd be fantastic. Hey, speaking of tashes...
Oh, yeah. How dare you?
And it's got to come out. Hold on, I'll just knot this cotton. We'll have that out in a second. Yes, I've been listening to Dracula this week.
Oh, dear.
Not reading Dracula. I've been listening to Dracula.
What, you've been hanging out with him?
No, he's living next door. And I've got a glass up the wall. No, I've been... many of you will know, probably 4 of you, that yesterday, Friday the 20th of April, obviously it was Hitler's birthday, but it was also the centenary of the death of Bram Stoker, who wrote Dracula. So I thought, I like to acknowledge a literary anniversary, so I thought, well, I'll listen to the audio book of Dracula this week. You know, I've never actually... realised I've never read Dracula. Can you believe it? So, it wasn't a big deal, the centenary. If you consider Charles Dickens...
No, funny that.
It's Charles Dickens everywhere. Exactly.
But have you got...
Is Charles Dickens a more important literary figure than Bram Stoker?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
Charles based on output alone.
Has Charles Dickens...
We started on the Dickens rant. Hate a Dickens rant.
This is how you measure, I think, fame. Has Charles Dickens ever had one of his characters transformed into a duck and given its own cartoon show?
No.
Whereas Count Dracula...
Yeah.
Exactly.
But he's a one-trick pony, I would argue.
Yes.
Who?
Bram Stoker.
Yeah, but you know, there's no cartoon called Charles Dickens. Is there?
Not yet.
No, there's no Mallard Times.
Good, Frank.
Anyway, one thing I listening to Dracula in its original form, because I've seen the films.
Gary Oldman with the lilac glasses. Who hasn't?
I've never seen that one, actually.
Oh, I hate it. He
perhaps
calls himself Dracula, and I don't think that's how you pronounce it.
Dracula.
Ridiculous.
I quite like that.
He always has to be different.
Dracula.
Did they call him... When he was at school, did they call him Depot? Because that would really confuse things, wouldn't it? If you got the boss a lot to school, once there's a character called Depot.
Depot?
Yeah.
Who?
Johnny Depp.
I thought we were talking about Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman.
Wasn't Johnny Depp in it?
Oh, he might have been, yeah.
Just because he's another goth doesn't mean he was in it.
I
really?
can't believe
They're
there
all the
was a
same.
goth-based film that Johnny Depp was.
Yeah, you do
I bet the agent got some stick about that.
Yeah.
What's going on? Actually,
He has on his
Marlon
seat-
Brando wasn't in it either, apparently.
He says,
He was
we'll
fuming.
bring own eyeliner, is what he says. His agent says.
He says,
We'll bring own eyeliner.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway...
May I just ask, I'm sorry to interrupt, may I just ask how you know about this anniversary? Have you got like a literary anniversary calendar or something? Do you just know such things?
It's been about, you know...
It's not an app?
It's been in the press.
Literary anniversaries app?
No, I don't know, I read about it.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, it wasn't. When I put Google on yesterday, I thought the 2 O's are both going to have fangs, like two open
Oh,
fang
Frank,
mouths.
can I just say, I love it when you say put Google on, like putting the kettle on.
Polly put the Google on. Polly put the Google. Yes, that's my search engine of choice. I got
An Alta Vista type.
I got
myself.
a bit class war about Ask Jeeves in the end. I thought, I felt he was looking down on me. Anyway, back to the tash. Turns out in the book that he's got a tash, Dracula.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't think of him with a tash at all. I think of him with like a widow's peak.
Right.
Quite a drawn but handsome young man. He's an old sort of geezer with a long white tash and long white hair.
Oh, so
Turns out-
he's not the David Williams vibe.
No, it shouldn't have been Gary Oldman. It should have been Hulk Hogan. They missed it. What an opportunity that was.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Frank, this is what I'm going to call one of your mea culpa moments.
Oh, no.
I'm afraid
Have I erred?
you have erred. You said earlier, or would you like to remind the listeners what you said, re Dickens
Well, I
v.
d-
Bram Stoker?
Yeah, well, I said Bram Stoker had a cartoon character made into a... I can't say it again, because now I know it's wrong, I
A
can't get it out.
literary character made
Made
into
into
a
a
Yeah, he made his
cartoon.
character was made into a doc in a cartoon series, and,
Yeah.
and I said Dickens can't say that.
Au contraire.
Yeah, I was so wrong.
Because as probably, I'd say about 40 at least of our listeners have said,
Oh,
including
I-
019, Dickens has had a cartoon duck character, Scrooge McDuck, a relative of Donald.
You know what? I even remember Scrooge McDuck now. I mean, I've never been, so I'm shamed up, as we used to say at school.
I mean, you can ask the listenership for their opinion on stuff, but a way of really getting contact is to get something wrong early in the show.
Yes.
Like the day I said skillet instead of whatever it was, and the switchboard nearly
We've
blew
never
up.
been so inundated.
But I apologise. I apologise to Charles Dickens. He is an equal literary figure to Bram Stoker, based on his doc cartoon scenario.
I did think you were leading with your chin a bit there. I was worried.
Yeah. I think Bill Sykes as well.
Bill Sykes.
I've got a Bill.
Oh my God, that's
Sorry.
terrible.
Sorry, terrible. That is rubbish. You're quite right. What about a Duck Tale of Two Cities? I will stop. I will absolutely stop. So I've been listening to. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love a bit of Dickens.
Mm-hmm.
I've only ever read one Dickens book.
Really?
Yeah.
Which one? You're going to come out with the pun, aren't you?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
It was Pickwick Papers.
Okay. Lovely.
It was, and I sat on the. I had a very old copy of it that I'd bought from a second-hand bookshop, falling apart, and I read it on the train. I remember, and I was really laughing. It's a very properly funny book, not I'm going to laugh because it's Dickens. It's properly funny stuff in it. The thing is that the copy I had looked a lot like a Bible. So I think people thought I was reading the Bible, absolutely cracking up. At it. Oh! What? The sea just opened? Yeah, right. So, that was weird. But
Richard
anyway,
Dawkins does that, to be fair.
yeah, Richard Dawkins, I think is the cartoon character that he's had made. So I've been walking around listening to the Dracula all week. It's brilliant. I love it.
You've been walking around London listening to Dracula.
Yeah.
Is
I'm
life
not going all the way to Whitby just to get the atmosphere.
Is life not terrifying enough in this time of global terror that you thought, I can heighten this by listening to one of the scariest books around?
Well, I've found that because it's rained a lot this week, if I'm under an umbrella listening to an audio book, it's like stopping in.
Nice.
Yeah. I've got a roof and
Yeah.
and a sort of Radio 4 type thing going on. I mean, it's
You can't get an umbrella out if you're near your partner, because she won't have it. I tried it this week.
Also, if I was with my partner, she wouldn't be that happy about me listening to an audio book. Right, I needn't tell her, I suppose, just let her talk.
Put one ear in like you've got your Bluetooth on or something.
But it's made me think about a lot of things. For example, I'm thinking I might get a cloak.
What?
Why not? Why not? Get a cloak.
Why not? I can think of a few reasons.
I
You'll look awful.
I don't know. Would it look awful? I don't know why the cloak has gone out of fashion for people.
I love how you think of
Frank,
stuff
how
like
would you wear one, like a velvet cloak?
Needn't be velvet. No, not. I find velvet.
Hessian?
Don't you find velvet tends to collect the lint?
Yeah. You could get a velvet cloak and a lint roller, though.
Oh no, but it's quite hard to go over a cloak, I think. Because
I haven't got time to be rolling you down every morning.
no, not with a cloak. I'd have to stand with it fully extended, like Count
Dracula.
like Count Dracula, for you to go over it. To roll
Condor
me.
Man.
Yeah, it wouldn't
Frank,
be. Unless I kept
Please
it in
don't get a cloak.
Unless I could.
I beseech you.
I could line the wardrobe.
When did this get medieval? I beseech
That's what I said to Prince Charles when I asked him not to look up comments on YouTube. I beseech you, sire.
Did you?
No, a cloak is. I don't know what's bad about it. I think it.
What about a pashmina?
No, that's.
Oh my God,
Compromise with
That's
a
ridiculous. The nice thing about a cloak.
yashmak.
Don't you? I'm finding it harder and harder now. What I call sleeve search. When you put a coat on, you're going backwards. For
Oh,
that sleeve.
yeah.
People, I find now, come up and help me when I'm putting a coat on. It must be lovely to just tie it at the neck and you're dressed and warm and also.
It's not warm, it's gaping open.
No, but I think they are quite warm.
Oh, don't get Velcro tied in it as well.
No, I think
the
Dracula looks proper snug.
Frank, what footwear would you wear with the cloak? This concerns me.
I'd wear my
Trainers with
Trainers,
the
soften
cloak.
it.
I'd wear my ordinary cloak.
don't want it to
I'm
look
on
too
about
formal.
reclaiming the cloak as an ordinary form of, that you don't have to go to the opera or be a superhero or Elvis. You can just wear it instead of an overcoat.
Yeah.
You could have a lightweight one for the summer if you don't want to get your shoulders
Very
burnt.
attractive.
See, you work in fashion, but in fact you're very narrow-minded.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
Frank, we've had quite a lot of response re your decision to start wearing a cloak,
Oh,
which
have
is one of
we
the
ever?
most extraordinary things
Well,
you've ever said.
I'm never... There's a real snobbery about the cloak. I think part of this...
Snobbery!
I have to get defensive.
I think some people think, you've got to be a bit posh to wear a cloak, and then...
No, I just think you've got to be a bit mental to wear a cloak.
A bit shady.
No, imagine the joy of running for a bus wearing a cloak.
I'd feel
it's
strangled.
literally at a 90-degree angle.
Superman style.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a great way of training, I think.
What about a cape?
Is to think, you could have a...
Frank, don't scrimp on the cost, though. I worry about you. I don't want that umbrella fabric.
If you
Do know
imagine
what I mean?
now, instead of, you could have... Instead of epaulets, you could have protractors, raised protractors, and you could think, I can measure my pace. I have to be at 90 degrees with the cloak. See if I can keep that up for 10
It
seconds.
makes sense. As our Keith has said, with you, bro, they still have cloakrooms.
There
That's
you
a good
go.
point.
Our Keith,
That is a good point. They're not called
As ever.
coat rooms, are they?
Keith
it's a nail on the head.
He's as sharp as a tack.
Yeah.
He's quite right, yeah. Cloakrooms.
We've actually had an email in this week about reading. This was all kick-started, for people that have just tuned in, this was all kick-started by Frank listening to Dracula, the book, an audio book. And we've had an email called Walking and Reading. A few weeks back, I've been catching up on the podcast. You were questioning, can anyone read while walking? I too read books while walking in London, so Emily is not unique on this. If I'm reading
I hate
a good
not
book,
being unique.
I want to read it all the time. The way I do it is simple and safe too. You pick out someone walking the direction you wish to go and at a speed you are comfortable with. You then fall in line behind them at a distance of about 5 feet. You begin to read your book and use your peripheral vision to follow your new friend, maintaining the distance between you. Should your new friend take the wrong for you route, just pick out another. Repeat until you reach your destination. I don't think this is a popular method, but I look forward to the day when one can see trains of book readers walking about town. Thanks, Tony. What a system.
It's a sort of slipstream.
It is a slipstream.
It's a stalker's guide there, I think is what it is.
Not really, not if you're engrossed in a Dick Francis or something like that. You're not going to start following
what's he
people.
called, this?
Tony.
Tony,
don't try it with me anymore, or you'll get a face full of cloak.
That's true.
That's my advice.
Also, if you cycle behind somebody else who's cycling, it's 30% less taxing.
Is that right?
That's why
Really?
they follow each other in cycle
Can we
racing.
say we're not recommending that people cycle and read?
No, we're not. We're definitely not. But I just think that the idea of following somebody walking, maybe there's a bit of logic to it. Perhaps it's like the cycling.
I find people in London are inclined to suddenly stop, though.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the walkers.
Yeah,
Walkers need brake lights.
You know, you're gonna go into the. You're going to. I can't use the phrase. You're going to end them.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to do. I like the sort of human shield element of it. I do
Yeah.
a similar thing with people begging on the streets. I'll
my God.
I'll slow up until someone in the same direction is about, and then I'll go at their shoulder. So I'm hidden. Bless you. I'm hidden. From the person asking for money by another pedestrian. I own up to this. This is really bad. I also do it when crossing the road. I always think, well, I'll let these people go. If I go to the side of if this car doesn't stop, they'll cushion quite a bit of the impact.
That could be your crumple zone.
Yeah. I wouldn't do it if there was a porcupine crossing the road, because I could end up in more trouble than I started out with.
Yeah.
That'd just be knocked into me like a...
If you do get your cloak and you're passing a beggar in the street, you could just shut the curtains on it. Just walk past him, like,
Yeah.
incognito.
That's see?
Although, Frank,
you see, I could
816
change my trunks. I
816
wore a cloak regularly.
816 has suggested, Frank, you should go down the poncho route. Arguably more torso coverage, I don't know what they suggest there, and greater arm freedom. Bit more mix and match on the colour front too.
What I don't like about the poncho is that they come to a point. I like the cloak has got a nice straight edge to it. That would put me off. I think that if people are going to walk around reading books in the street, having now got into audio book, I think they should read aloud.
Oh, yeah.
And if you hear something, you think, oh, this sounds all right, you can walk with them for a mile or two.
Yeah. Why are you late, Tony? I ended up in Ladbroke Grove because I was listening to a pacey thriller.
Yeah, exactly. I've arranged. Apparently, he leaves the house at 9 tomorrow. I'll be waiting for him.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
We're discussing cloaks this morning on Absolute Radio. Send in your text on
So there you go. There you go again with the derogatory tone about the cloak. Imagine not having to worry about losing a button.
What would you have at the neck point? A little tie?
A bow.
That's
No,
what worries me. I don't
bow.
want a bow on his Adam's apple.
I'm thinking elastic.
Elastic.
So I have to stretch it down over my head.
Like those certain
Never
baby
seen
bibs.
Yeah, but they have a clasp, don't they? They have
Frank, where do you stand on
clasp.
lining? Red silk? Evening at the Opera?
Well, I'm hoping. What I was thinking is a waterproof lining, so if it comes on terrain, I can just switch it round.
Sorry, I was just momentarily distracted because Alan just flashed his lining.
Oh yeah, he's got red there, but that's a jacket.
It is a jacket.
I mean, I might, if things went wrong at work and I ended up in an industrial environment, I might get a high-vis cloak.
That'd be awful. Entirely the wrong fabric.
Builder's
for the job.
cloak.
That sounds like I've got a bit of builder's cloak.
Yeah, it's like Handmaid's Knee. You know, there's a thing called
It's
Handmaid's
like bingo
Knee.
wings,
Yes, I
isn't
do
it?
know.
Bingo wings.
She's got a bit of a builder's cloak. It's clean. Sounds filthy. It's clean.
Yeah.
Frank, Daisy, who produces the show, her other half, as I believe they say,
Yeah.
he's texted in. He says,
What,
Frank...
Jermaine?
Yes, Jermaine.
Okay.
Frank, if you got a cloak, you could say, everybody effie ask where me get me cloaks.
Now that is a reference to Clark's Hughes song.
Yeah.
See, I thought it was Everybody Help Me Out. Turns out it's some sort of West Indian... Everybody
Perhaps
affy out.
Effie ask, yeah.
Everybody affy ask where me get me cloak. I bet they would as well. Where'd you get that? Where'd you get that?
And you'd be able to say, oh, Primani, or yeah,
So they say Primark, they don't do clothes.
T to the K to the
No,
NX.
funnily enough, they don't do cloaks. No one does cloaks, except for a fancy dress shop.
Yeah, but that's all going to change. And also, wouldn't it be better if Primark did clothes rather than children in the third world having to do all those difficult buttonholes and cuffs?
They could
Very
make
nice.
knock out a cloak and have the afternoon off, couldn't
Yeah.
they?
They could have
Go
one.
play football in the park.
They
or
could
something.
have one old guy, a clasp specialist, who did that, but they'd be able to bang the cloaks out left, right, and centre.
I mean, this did all begin from you reading / listening to
Dracula.
The Dracula.
It was
Yes.
the centenary.
Which I don't think
remind
I've...
you again of,
Is it written as a series of letters?
It is.
Oh,
It's
right.
epistolary, I
It is
believe is the
epistolary.
term.
Maybe I have read it. I think I've read it, but I might be thinking of Frankenstein. I've got that weird, like...
Well, they're
blur.
oft confused.
Easily,
I mean,
easily,
Abbott
yeah.
and Costello couldn't tell one from the other.
Is that right? But I was going to ask you, is this weird? Because it's a reading question. I have deliberately
You've got
left...
me already. Any question that begins, is this weird? I'm tuned in. I'm tuned straight in.
I honestly thought it was
And
the
if you
reading
can-
that had piqued your interest there.
If you can throw Cloak into the mix, he's even more
No,
grim.
there's no cloak, but I have deliberately left my book at home on Thursday when I left my home to come away because...
When you say your book, the book you're currently reading.
Yeah, I'm reading Freedom. Corrections. The Corrections by
yes.
Jonathan Franzen, which
Oh,
is
yes.
One of my
Freedom's his
faves.
next one. And I'm really enjoying it, but I'm quite close to the end, and it's quite a chunky book,
Oh, yeah.
and I like to pack light on the road.
No, I understand that.
So I've just
completely.
left it in the house, and I thought, well, I'll come back to it, and I've got it to look forward to, and I brought away another book, which I thought was a series of short stories, but it turns out it's not. It's some stories.
But it's a slim volume, I'm guessing.
It's a slim volume.
It's a travel book.
It's Salman Rushdie, because I think it's 15 years since the fact. Well, I don't know the anniversary.
I don't know, but as you know, I met him at the time, so yes, it's about
you?
15 years. Yeah, we had a long chat.
Wow, how
He
exciting!
was in a broom cupboard with Boris. What was he called?
Becca.
Becca. Yeah. I wanted to say Boris Johnson. I thought if I say that, it'll be a court case.
Indeed.
Well,
Not my first.
I
Is
think
it
that's
uncommon to
fine.
have two books on the
Well,
go?
you see, I'm reading Behind the Shades, which is a Bob Dylan biography, and it's a fat book. I would never take
Do
it
you mean
on the road.
PH? Fat. It's a fat book.
No, I mean
Ben and Jerry's.
You're loving it.
it's a large. So I only ever read that on the toilet.
Oh my god!
So then I don't have to carry it anywhere. And what? And I think it keeps me right. It's such a good book. It keeps. Sometimes I go, I don't really want to go. I just sit. Well,
Emily
I'll
looks
just
mortified.
I'll just go for 3 pages. Yeah. Yeah, so that's an. I think I have about 4 or 5 books on the go.
You're a
I think.
rotator.
Oh,
I
good.
am, because sometimes I feel I always have at least one non-fiction
Uh-huh.
and
Yes.
and one fiction and often a slim volume of poetry. Depends what mood I'm in.
Well, that's where poetry's perfect, isn't it? Because
I always
you can
have
dip
a-
in and out. Can't you?
Oh, you can dip it.
I have at least 3 on the go.
Books.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm all for rotation. And also, I need to have one on my iPad that I'm reading. So
Yes.
that, if Kath moans about my reading light, I can go into iPad at the night.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, oh, God, yeah.
My mum used to have a book upstairs and a book downstairs.
That's a
'cause
good
she's
idea.
categorically lazy. She's happy to admit that.
Oh,
I'm sure.
I thought you meant she was under house arrest.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Frank, a few more texts on Cloaks this morning on 8:12:15.
Again, I sense scorn.
You sense correct, my friend. This is from Leo, who says, re-high-vis cloaks you were talking about, Frank. Sounds a bit cloak and digger, which is rather fine
Leo.
work.
Great pun.
Excellent.
Not containing a pun, but I like... hang on, it's just moved. Wow. How frustrating. Here we are. Frank, I went to a school where we had to wear big, long, woolly cloaks with a hood, 4 different colours depending on which house you were in. Red, blue, green or yellow. We were sometimes made to wear them in public to and from school. I imagine they were great days as you walked to school in your yellow hooded cloak.
Were you a child during the Return of the Jedi?
Well, you essentially catfire hell.
I can't imagine the state school kids being particularly forgiving of the
No, of the
parade
knitted-
of
the knitted cloak.
coloured cloaks.
Maybe it could be
dear.
from Umberto Eco. Google it.
I bet it was a long walk to school on a rainy day as well.
I'll bet.
It's soaked into you.
Yeah, I get
Frank.
to school with thighs like strong men.
I wonder if they knitted them with, like my auntie Lorna used to knit with a vintage car on the jumper. I wonder
Oh,
if they had
yes.
like a big, because on a cloak you got a lovely canvas. You could do the Last Supper.
At the back.
Frank, much as I'm loving discussing clothes,
Yeah, let's enough.
it's been about nearly an hour now, so
You're right.
I'd like to transfer our attentions to Pippa Middleton. Have you
yes.
boys? She's got
The
in.
last thing she should do is wear a cloak, of course.
She's got in
Unless
with rather
it's
a
a short
louche
one.
crowd. I think we can safely say. So just to recap,
Royalty.
She's au Paris.
yeah, she
Yes.
is Opary, but she was in a car this week. She's been hanging out with this character called Vicomte Arthur de Saultray, who I'm rather obsessed by.
Yeah. What is a vicomte?
A Vicomte it's basically above a baron, below an earl.
Okay.
Is it?
Okay. Does that help you? No.
Yes.
Okay. But they all got rather overexcited in this car.
I'll have a look at me aristocracy wall chart.
I told you how to remember it.
Okay.
Does my lord ever visit Brighton Beach? That's how you remember it.
Does my lord ever? And what does that
So
stand for
that
again?
is Duke, Marquis, Earl, Viscount, Baron, Baronet.
Okay.
Don't you love that I know that?
I do.
Yeah.
It's going to come in really handy. So,
So this man was in the car with her, was wielding a gun, Roman Rabiard 36.
Is that the name of the gun, or
Yeah,
is it
no, that's the name of him.
the fella?
But it was sort of high-spirited, posh japes, basically. Can you imagine
Yeah, with
someone
a
saying,
gun.
"Oh, that'll be well jokes, mate. Get the gun out."
I imagine her sister is often in a car with a man with a gun.
Yeah.
That's become her life. I believe when Wills drove her from the royal wedding in that little sports car, he had a harpoon gun in with him. Did you read that?
No.
The idea is if there was a gang of protesters, he'd shoot one in the chest and then drive round and round so as to sort of round them, tie them up, knot
Lasso
them up
them.
together, yeah, like a terrible table napkin in its ring. Thank God it never wasn't necessary.
Never came to that.
It's a great thing. I don't know if you've ever fired a harpoon gun, but it goes...
No, funnily enough, no.
It goes... as it runs through. Oh,
Oh, nice.
brilliant.
But, so she's in a bit of trouble now. She needs what I believe
Like
they
Frank
call...
Spencer. She's in a bit of trouble.
She needs what they call crisis management in the PR industry, they call
poor
it.
Pippa.
No, she needs to... Well, if I were her, I would open an orphanage in India, pretty sharpish.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? She needs to start showing that
Well,
she's...
hold on. Isn't she one of the 100 most influential people?
Timing
according
is
to-
Yes.
dreadful, really.
Yeah,
It's a
Time
gaffe.
magazine has listed... You're sort of thinking America, they wouldn't know who Pippa Middleton was. I didn't know hardly anyone on their list of the most influential people in the world.
Didn't you?
There's a few
Hardly
comics
anyone.
there, wasn't there? There was a few
Yeah.
comics on the list.
There was
Other than
Louis
that-
C.K. I didn't recognise anyone else. Rihanna,
Yeah.
Oh, was there?
who, as you know, has had a massive influence on me. As I speak, I'm just wearing a little check shirt knotted at the midriff.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see you in denim shorts in this weather, but
I saw her in. She's gone up in my estimation, actually, Rihanna.
Has she?
I saw Battleship this week,
Oh, yeah.
and she looks quite cool with heavy artillery.
Does she?
is she in Battleship, or is that just...
No, she's in Battleship.
Oh, right,
She's.
I didn't know
I
that.
don't know if it's a debut acting role, but yeah, I liked her in. I liked her in that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about Rihanna except I'm warming to her.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, because I used to despise her, but sci-fi can win me over.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio, and I'm with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane.
I was going to speak then, and Frank gave me one of his looks, as
That's
if to say,
because
I've got
you
to
get
do
a-
the business.
On the hour, you have to tell them who they're listening to, apparently. When I say
know.
them, I mean you, obviously. I mean, yes, you.
Frank, they're still texting in about Cloaks.
Well, I'm sorry.
They. Even
This
that
is
was
from
disparaging.
Soapy, who's actually a lawyer.
Soapy.
Yes.
A slippery character.
I bet his cases are clean.
Oh, boys, what lovely work! Sophie says, Frank, some career change options for you. As a court lawyer, I get to live your cloak-based dreams every single day. Running down a marble corridor with a cloak sailing behind you is more fun than you can imagine. That's from Soapy.
It sounds brilliant, and of course they've got the protective wig, should they go over.
The big crash helmet. That's
Yes,
a nice
because their lawyers do
combination.
look quite sexy in those cloaks.
I tell
Do
you what,
they?
I find a little bit hard to believe is a member of the legal profession having to run anywhere. Isn't it the slowest business in the... You know, you get a big crime on the telly or something, you think, oh, terrible thing. Like, 10 months later, it comes, what do they do? Can you... And when they get to court, they say, right...
What are they doing?
So you turn up at 10 o'clock and they say, right, name and address, OK, right, we'll have a recess now for 2... What's going on? Get on with it!
I think it doesn't sound like you're cut out for the legal profession.
No, not
Aside
at all.
from the wearing of cloaks, it sounds like it would do your head in.
And also, for me, to gown.
Yeah.
Yes.
I believe
And-
there are sleeve. Are there not sleeve holes?
I think you're correct, Frank. It's getting too poncho-based. Also, get on with it never goes down very well in courtrooms, I
No,
find.
but you-
The irony that you've got someone legal on a technicality there, that it's a gown and not a cloak.
Yeah, there you
Nice.
go, you see.
We've had another email in that I like.
Your witness.
Yeah.
You're on fire, you boys.
This is in reference to you using pedestrians as a human shield when
Oh,
you're
right.
crossing the road.
Oh, yeah.
This is the joy of this show, that we get emails in just titled Human Shield. Dear Frank and gang, ever since watching Jaws in the early 80s, I've used a human shield technique in the sea. Just in case there's a roaming great white shark there while I'm swimming, I always make sure that there is someone further out from the shore so that they get taken first. This is definitely a somewhat irrational fear, as I used to implement this system whilst on holiday in Frinton-on-Sea.
And also, what if the shark has just been launched? It'll come to you first.
Just been launched, one foot back in the sea.
Yeah, exactly.
He thinks life's like a James Bond film.
I always throw them back in, sharks.
Do you?
They make a mess of your keep net.
Keep net, is that a fishing reference?
Oh, God, I was listening to the Talk Sport fishing show today. That was amazing.
Were you?
I always swim with Peter Crouch for shark safety reasons. Because they'll reach him before me.
Anyway, I liked it.
No,
it's a nice
fine.
invention, isn't it? On the subject of inventions, I don't know if have you seen the news story this week that?
I saw some pictures of new inventions.
Yeah, there's an invention exhibition.
This is in Geneva.
In Geneva, no less, and all sorts of amazing stuff going on. Hands-free umbrella. Did you see that?
I thought it was a bit unconventional for Geneva.
You say hands-free umbrella. That was a man with gaffer tape strapped to him.
It did
That
look a
wasn't a
bit-
hands-free umbrella.
It looked a bit
That's-
DIY.
that
And
is
also, they
stupid.
said shoelaces that tie up themselves. They're called slip-ons. That's not an invention.
Loafers
No, well,
have been around for
they weren't all
donkey's
brilliant.
years, haven't they?
But yeah, as you know, I put quite a lot of money into the umbrella hat, and I got my fingers burnt. I'll be honest with you. I thought, I've said this before, but when I first saw the umbrella hat, I thought that's it for the handheld. Forget about it. Didn't catch on. Can't work it out. Well, we'll come back to inventions because I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by the idea that people do that for a living.
Yeah.
They invent.
And also lots of people do it for a hobby as well, don't they?
Yeah, but there's some people they're in the shed every day, trying to come up just a bit more gaffer tape on that umbrella. I could be a millionaire.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
Where were we? Inventions.
Yes. So we were talking about, there was this, it was an exhibition of inventions in Geneva, wasn't it?
Seem to be mainly Oriental people, the inventors. I
Were they?
noticed, yeah.
Well, the guy with the umbrella, the hands-free umbrella, he seems non-Oriental.
No,
I'm-
consequently, his invention was rubbish. You could just put it down the back of your shirt.
I was tiptoeing towards the word Caucasian there and thought, no, I better not. But
No,
it's fine,
not-
isn't it? It's
no,
fine.
I think you're only Caucasian if you're shot in an American cop show.
Yes, that's right.
That's the only time that's used. I'm seriously. I think we've all dabbled with the idea of inventions, haven't we? Because if you come up with a real goodie, I mean, you can not just make. I mean, you can make a lot of money, but some very satisfying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you take Hill, who invented the Hill's hoist, you know those washing line things that are just like they're like.
Oh, yes.
So that they're like. How can you describe them? They're like a tree. They look like a sort of Christmas tree meets a
Oh,
TV
yeah.
area.
I know.
Hill's hoists, they're called.
Oh, are they?
And Hill, he's not only did he make a fortune, but when he was
Harry
driving
Hill?
around, no, not him. No, he was I had to watch too much telly. We'll spend hours watching telly every day. It's a nightmare. So, yeah, he must have drove past people's gardens and saw a Hills hoist in the and thought, that makes you proud. Someone
Yeah.
I once read an interview with Eddie Braben, who wrote for
Morecambe and
Wise, and he said he was standing at a Liverpool bus stop and just had a thought and thought, I'll bet one of my jokes has made everybody in this queue laugh at some point or another. That must be nice.
confident.
Think again, Eddie.
Well, they were.
I'm quite a tough crowd, I think you'll find.
This was in the days when there were only 3 channels and everyone loved Morecambe and
God, I
Wise.
certainly wouldn't. I wouldn't think. I don't think that if I'm in a lift, having just done a joke. So what I'm thinking at the moment, my current list includes
Your inventions.
Your inventions.
I'm thinking of a cord fastening underpant for a man. So instead of elastication, a knotted cord at the waist.
Why would you have that?
Because I've got
along with the cloak.
I've got, I'd say, 4 or 5 pairs of pants that are in perfectly good condition apart from the elastic. And it breaks my heart to throw them away. Just
Are these
for the,
briefs?
Oh,
No,
yeah,
no,
because
they're
the frayed
boxers.
cord is going to
Boxer
look
short.
great, isn't it, in 15 years' time?
No, but it won't. It won't.
You're like
you
a
can
down and out.
But you can exchange a cord easily. Elastic, you're stuck with it. I don't know
can,
what it
you
is
can do
with
it
them
with
with
a
Calvin
pin.
Classics. The elastic just doesn't seem to.
No, to be fair, Frank, I was hasty there. I think you could have a point.
Yeah, sometimes I go out in one of. I think I'll wear it anyway. I'll wear it even though the elastic's going.
And they drop.
And they drop. They hang either side of the crotch of my trousers.
Doesn't give you a good line.
Like a saddle blanket over the spine of an emaciated horse. And that frustrates me. So that would be my thing, is forget elastic, let's go back to cords. What about that?
See, mine's more outlandish. I would like some form of a sort of arcade-style claw that could pick up my clothes on my bedroom floor. I could have a contraption on the ceiling.
You can operate from bed.
Yes! And then it would, like an 18-wheeler reversing, and then it would descend, pick up all the clothes, hang them in the wardrobe. That would actually change my
That
life.
is, I could have done with one of them when I was a drinking man, because I got to a point very early in the evening when I couldn't be bothered to count change, so I'd just give them a note every time. And the next day I couldn't lift my trousers off the bedroom floor, they had so much small change. So I could get the claw to pick it up. It could tilt them slightly over my giant whiskey bottle to put the change in, and then across to the actually straight to the washing machine. Wouldn't have been a bad idea.
Oh, God.
Looking back, at least the dryer, absolute minimum.
Which is in the same bedroom. That you've got it all set up.
Yeah, it was.
I love a dryer in a bedroom.
The drinker's bed sit.
Perfect.
Frank
Skinner.
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Frank, we've been talking about inventions.
You have.
Well, yes, I have, actually. That's a correct factual statement.
Okay.
I could do with the same one as you, the thing to pick the clothes up.
Oh, the arcade claw?
May well save my marriage, I think. Yeah.
I don't want to know about that.
They're best at home with a cuddly tie, though, aren't they?
Yes.
That's claws.
Yes, very much
They
so.
love a cuddly tie.
I love an arcade. Anyway, so
I
we've
love
had...
Arkeith. That's close.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it? That's Frank's brother, Arkeith, everyone, in case you didn't know. 870 has texted in an invention suggestion: a giant Velcro mat to stick the kids onto to stop them crawling everywhere and wrecking the house.
But wouldn't they have to wear Velcro as well, or would you just stick it into the pores?
And they put a
if they're
Velcro
fair?
suit on, bodysuit, obviously.
Put them in a Velcro baby grow and plonk them down. That's what you do with kids, you plonk them.
Yeah.
But it's great. That's a brilliant idea. And I believe not that long ago there was an advert where there was loads of babies as if they were at a conference. And I think they got in trouble because they did exactly that. They put the kids on Velcro.
Oh, well, they literally did.
Yeah,
that.
to film it.
Like Mr. Ed used to have peanut butter put on the roof of his mouth.
Very like that, yes. And I think they got in a bit of trouble.
Well, I'm in
Frank Spencer style.
preparation for my child. I've bought a Velcro cloak. I'll just shove him on the back while I'm shopping.
That's your equivalent of the papoose.
Yeah, you don't.
Frank 503 says, invent a bin for plastic bags that heats up and turns them into a pellet for recycling.
That's like a proper.
Well, can I say,
invention.
I appreciate that invention.
And also, I don't know about you, but I'd love to see a bin on fire. That's always been one of my favourites.
Yeah, but Frank, I always maintain there should be a chute for rubbish. I love a chute, me.
Oh, yeah.
Because I also think it's quite barbaric to be expected to live with rubbish in your gaff.
I think there's still flats with chutes.
Oh,
Are there?
especially in Glasgow. High-rise flats in Glasgow.
Birmingham, certainly.
I'm going to chuck it down the chute.
Yeah, when I was
Love that.
up on the 10th floor, I used to put it down the chute, and I used to hear it. And the bin liner into the bin liner.
Did a little bit of jazz.
Yeah, it did
Very Cleo Lane, I loved it.
It did do a bit of.
You should have just been a guy on a double bass in the background as well. Nice.
Yeah, I was thinking. Toilet paper nothing's really been done to that on the invention front.
Well, Simon Cowell only has black toilet paper.
I read that, yeah. What I'm thinking of, I don't know, I've become over meticulous in older age. I'm thinking, say, every 10 sheets, it says on the sheet, relax, that's near enough. And what you would do is you would save, that would be good for the planet, because you'd save a lot of paper
that's near enough.
Yeah.
Near enough clean, that's fine.
Well, anyway, let's not pass this. PARSE. Another one I had. Now, this is a simple. Maybe people do this. I've never, but I think this is a very simple idea. A cold water bottle for the summer months.
Really?
So instead of
Where would
putting
you put it? Between your legs?
like put it by your feet like a hot water bottle. You'd have cold water in it. I mean, admittedly, this one isn't such a money spinner.
No.
Because it just involves using a different tap. But I don't know why people don't do that.
Have you tried it?
No.
Oh, right.
Doesn't it sound like a brilliant idea?
No.
Well, this summer, try it and see if it's nice. And if it's not, then you'll know why nobody bothers. Maybe it's just not nice.
The other one, you see, is to start with warm.
He's got loads of them.
Warm at night when you need to snuggle up, and then in the morning, cold to wake you up. That's another reason why I stopped drinking.
Oh!
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
Frank, we've had an email in midweek.
Huh?
Hello, Frank, Emily and Alun. Very regular podcast listener whilst walking my dog.
I do that. Podcast with a dog walk. Good work.
I don't have a dog.
Okay. We're all established. All right.
Our relation to this in a fabulous sort of spiky chart diagram.
Alpine Pop took me back. Do you remember Dandelion and Burdock?
Do I?
Bizarre combination, but a great
Best double
taste.
act I ever saw.
A great taste, long forgotten.
It was a cracking. It was my favourite pop for many years. Dandelion and Burdock.
Was it? Was it
Yeah.
actual dandelions then?
Well, I
flavour
think
of-
originally it was made with dandelion and burdock. It was a sort of health drink, I think, that I could do with some now. But I think your modern manifestation contained neither dandelion nor burdock.
Oh dear.
It's like, I mean, if you go and see box fairs now, you want at the very minimum Jay Aston.
Yeah.
You
Mike
want-
Nolan.
You want one original, don't you? But I think in your modern day dandelion and burdock, it's D&B free.
When he says it's long forgotten, I would dispute that. It's still sold.
You still see it,
Many.
yeah.
Where
Where does he live,
This is Chris.
Chris? Where does he live?
We're
Doesn't-
assuming it could be a
where he is.
lady.
I'm going to assume that he's in the south of England and there's less of a demand for dandelion and burdock.
I think I've seen it about.
There is actually an Arctic Monkeys lyric, isn't there? You're rarer than a can of dandelion and burdock.
Is that?
Yeah, which I really like.
There's I remember when McDonald's they tried root beer when they first opened.
Yes.
How did that go?
Didn't catch on in England.
No.
And root beer, I always thought, tasted like dandelion and burdock with a little bit of germaline in it.
Just not that catchy.
For some reason, people didn't go
It's
for
weird.
that.
The obscure pop and Germaline combo.
And why would you have that when you've got nice cola next to it?
What I'm saying,
Floats.
you could make your own. You could be cheap, get your own dandelion and burdock, and put your own Germaline in according to your tastes.
Yeah, undercut the root beer market.
Yeah.
We had another email.
So Cloaks, dandelion and burdock, it's all happening.
And early date venues, which we were talking about last week.
Oh,
Dear
yes.
Frank, Alan, and the delectable Emily. I would like to thank Emily
fresh.
for her generous sartorial tips via Twitter, and I should like to let the team know about the series of
Hold
early
it.
dates.
Hold it. What sartorial tips via Twitter? Are you some
To
fashion...
cloak or not to cloak,
Are you a
probably.
fashion guru?
Yes, I am. I'm like an app.
Does this go?
He sometimes gets in touch, Rob Hitchman, and he'll ask me, what do you think? Should I wear this today?
Really?
Yes, and I'll tell him.
Well, look, you're a dark horse. Well, fancy that.
The
He lives
series
in
of-
Zurich, I believe.
It looks like that. The series of first dates he recently embarked upon, and I don't know if he's being boastful or not here, I'll let you decide. They were, from the very first date, an Italian restaurant in Zurich,
Bless you.
castle in the historic Swiss town of Gruyères,
Bit cheesy.
indeed,
Thank you.
Oh, no, we've got to do one for every venue now.
We'll be here some time.
a cable car and fondue ditto top
worth
of
dipping into.
snow-capped mountain, very good. A luxury train across the Alps to Italy,
Oh, he's on the right track.
very good.
Oh, pleasure.
Bit up and down this, isn't it?
Very good.
Pizza in Italy. I'm pausing there, so you've got time for a slice of the action.
That's
A water park and spa on the banks of Lake Zurich. Mm-hmm. Are we done?
No, we can't do this for every
Is this
single...
bubble burst?
Yeah.
There we go. A Time Out award-winning...
I'm out.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
I'll stop now. A Time Out award-winning fish and chip restaurant in Wandsworth.
Oh, it's going down.
What the... He's...
Over what period of time are all these?
Well, I'll get
dates?
to the end. The Olympic Park, Stratford, a Japanese restaurant in
Olympic
Canary
Park,
Wharf.
Stratford, it's a building site.
Indeed. All of the above took place over the course of just 2 weekends. He's capitalised 2, let me say.
I have to say, I love a date that involves a hard hat.
Yes, so do I.
Well, he has. I once dined alone in a restaurant in Zurich, and I ordered this meal. And when it came, it was tomatoes, sliced tomato, and cut into a square. And it had a square of a cross of cheese on it, so it looked like the Swiss flag. Are you with me? So it's a red tomato backing and a sort of very pale cheese.
Nice.
So it was all like little Swiss flags. And I sat there thinking, in Japan, this would be easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh,
Just
yeah.
be a slice of tomato on a piece of white bread. Absolutely. And I think people should go in for that kind of thing. I went to a gay restaurant, they gave me a rainbow trout. I was dieting at the time, though, so I just had the bunting. That was enough for me. But no, that sounds fabulous. What a great guy
He's
to
like
go out
a
with.
rom-com hero, that man.
Yeah, but Tina, when someone's overcompensating that much with the venue, you wonder about the conversation.
Frank.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Well, we're near the end of our extravaganza.
You know, you said earlier you love a good bin fire. We've had 877 texting saying that someone recently set our wheelie bin on fire. I turned the telly off and put the chair in front of the window. I love a good bin fire too. Good for him.
The summer of rioting will be with us again.
Yeah. Get your donkey jacket
Yeah,
out.
good time to collect those house bricks for the bed. So I'm off to Barcelona.
Bless you.
I'm off to Mumbai, Jaipur and Delhi.
Alan?
I'm off back to Manchester later on, Belfast. So, yeah, we're all schlepping about, aren't we?
Yeah.
Well, I'd hardly call it schlepping about in my case.
Oh, okay. I would in mine, very
Yeah,
much
but I'm
so.
going to see Barcelona, Real Madrid. What are you going to do in India?
That's a challenge.
Exactly.
I'll come back with my tails.
What is their flag? What's the flag? The Indian flag? What's that look like? It's going to be difficult to make out of food. That's my guess. Anyway, it's probably too many carbs in a flag for you.
In a
isn't it?
naan, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, there's no midweek podcast this week. I'm sorry to say that, but unfortunately, I'm anticipating the delivery of a plum tree. Sometimes it's just not convenient. So, right, well, if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this week with a brand new show. Goodbye.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.